Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Ravens Call. I'm your host, Tyler Cameron. If you haven't already or don't know what this podcast consists of, check out my 1-minute intro video or go through the weeks with us, whatever week you want to start out on. This podcast will be available on Spotify, YouTube, as well as Apple Podcasts. You can find links to all of those within each of the streaming services, or you can go to my Instagram and look up the Ravens Call podcast. On that note, hope everyone is having a great day and ready to listen to some exciting NFL and Baltimore Ravens news. All right, so today we're going to be looking over week 5. Now, week 5 was a very interesting week for football. So, got the Thursday night game. The Thursday night game was a shootout between the Bucks and the Falcons. I personally thought the Bucks were going to have this one. They just kind of played sluggish in the end, but it was a very good game. Let's look through the box score. Kirk Cousins threw for 509 yards. All right, so look at it. Baker had a pretty decent game. Yardage wasn't really there. 9 of 19 to 24, 180 yards, 3 TDs. Doing really well. Kirk Cousins balled out, 58 pass attempts, 509, 4 touchdowns and a pick. It's pretty good, I'd say, on that part. Running game wasn't really there. Tyler Algier seemed to be in there a lot more than Bijan, which I don't understand why. Bijan Robinson is a very good athlete when it comes to running the ball and catching. So, maybe it's just the scheme. Maybe he needs to go to a better team. Tampa Bay's rushing finally got going. Bucky Irving, Baker, and Rashad White finally get the running game started. So that was probably good for them to see. We can go over the passing stats a little bit, but my oh my. Godwin, 64 yards, Evans, 62. There wasn't a lot of passing yardage for Tampa Bay, but they were able to get down the field effectively. Now, for the Falcons, the passing game went really well. Drake London, 12 receptions, 154 yards, and a TD. Darnell Mooney, 9 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts finally showed up. I know for some fantasy owners, that's huge to see. 7 receptions for 88 yards. And from there on, a couple receptions here and there. Ray McLeod, 6 receptions, 66 yards. Couple fumbles here and there, but it was not a defensive game. This was very offensive. Came down to the wire. And the Falcons got the ball in the start of overtime and got a good pass out of it. And that guy was gone. That guy was speedy. I think it was Hodge. He just caught a nice post route and he was gone. And that's how the game ended. Baker didn't even get a shot. That's kind of how it was going to go for this game, was whoever got the ball first was going to win it. So, on to the next game, sneak peek for later for the Ravens. But let's go on. I know this is an afternoon game. It's just because I think it's I follow my favorite team, so they go up first. So we'll talk about this game first. But this was the afternoon game. The Denver Broncos at the start did not look good. Granted, Gardner Minshew just threw a ball up, and Brock Bauer had an amazing catch. They just couldn't do anything on offense, Denver, up until Pat Surtain picked off Gardner Minshew. And so here we see Gardner Minshew, 12-17, 137, 1 touchdown and 2 picks. He ended up getting benched for Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell did semi-decent, but at that point, it was already over. Raiders' rushing game was there for the most part. Abdullah had a lot of good runs. Brock Bauer had a really good game, but offensively, this team has looked bad, and now without Davante Adams, they're going to look even worse. So that is huge. Now for Denver, this was huge for them. Huge win for them. They're won 3 straight games Bo Nix, 19 to 27, 206, 2 touchdowns, and he also had a rushing touchdown. The running game was doing really well. Javonte Williams, 13 carries, 61 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin came in with 22. Passing game was really good in some essences. I know he threw to the running back a lot. But it was just a game where the defense really stepped up and the offense is starting to look a little more sound, just a little bit. But it's nice to get those wins now, especially with Denver having hard teams to play next. The Raiders aren't going to always be this bad. You got the Chargers next week. Kansas City is a huge one. But yeah, defensively, they played really well. 3 sacks, 2 picks from Garner, and they were both from. Actually, sorry. One was on Minshew, one was on O'Connell for Pat Surtain. Riley Moss had an amazing interception. So it was really good to see that Denver's clicking in their first year, knowing that they have the right guy at the wheel. So glad to see that for Denver. And the Raiders, they've looked like shit. So that's nothing. The only bright spot is Bowers for them, really. Now, before we get into the Jets-Vikings game here, a little bit of news. I don't know if you know, but the Jets, after this game, and actually of this morning when I'm recording this, they just fired their head coach, Robert Saleh. I think that they needed a new scheme or a new way of going about things, because the Jets being 2-3 is terrible. You lose to Denver 10-9, then you come and you're going to face a 4-0 undefeated Vikings team. You played really well against them. You had a shot, and then you just blew it. I mean, going into this game, Aaron Rodgers, 54 pass attempts, 244 yards. That's really good. But 3 picks, 3 sacks. Not really a good game. I mean, Minnesota, passing wise, didn't have a really good game either. They had one touchdown via the offense, and it was a rushing touchdown. Garrett Wilson for the Jets finally showed up, back up to the elite level he can be. 13 receptions, 101 yards, and touchdown. The Jets have all the right qualities. They have all the right people to succeed. They just aren't. They're just not getting it done when it matters most. And Aaron Rodgers shot himself in the foot with 3 picks. He threw one to Gilmore at the end there to win. I think Gilmore had 2. Let's check. Nope, Gilmore only had 1. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers throws a pick to Van Ginkel, 63-yard touchdown. That was kind of the cementing point in the first half, because, I mean, it was 17-7. 17-7 at halftime, and the Jets, with all of their weapons on rushing and passing and on the defense, they couldn't get anything going, and it's shocking that they're 2-3. The only good news is that their division is still pretty close, with the Bills being at 3-2. Vikings 5-0. Vikings have played some of the best teams to become 5-0. I think they're the best 5-0 team there is at the moment, because there's only 2, but the Vikings look like a really good team. They're able to run the ball pretty well. Hope that Aaron Jones is able to come back, but they looked good running. Justin Jefferson doing his thing, passing. Defenses look solid. I mean, 3 picks on Aaron Rodgers. So, and this is the London game that was on in the morning. Probably didn't see it because you have to have NFL Plus or stream it via other ways. All right, now on to the morning games. I'm not really going to go into the Bears-Panthers game. It was a revenge game for DJ Moore. He had a really good game, 5 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Caleb Williams played well. But, I mean, you're playing the Panthers. you can't really say that you're improving when you play the Panthers. Like every team who plays the Panthers from an offensive standpoint plays well. So, but Bears are 3-2. That's good for them to get the wins where they can. Dolphins, Patriots, again, I'm not going over this game either. I'm sorry. This game, if you watched it, I feel sorry for you. It was tough to watch. It was tough to see both teams looking like that. You had the Dolphins won, but it's a little more sad that the Dolphins are the way they are without Tua. Like Tyreek Hill is non-existent. I mean, he had 6 receptions, 69 yards. This guy was a guy who, if you picked in fantasy, you're thinking, oh my God, it's another great year. Our division's a little worse for wear. Tyreek Hill is one of the best receivers in the game. Should be good. Nope. Patriots scored a touchdown, and yeah, it was a mess. It was a terrible game. Dolphins win 15-10. Now this game I love to see as a Ravens fan. Not as much because of the Commanders, because we play the Commanders next week, and the Commanders are looking pretty tough, but we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, Deshaun Watson quit on his team. Anyone who says he didn't, you can tell. You're 4th and 1. You guys are down a lot. You do not need to be kicking field goals. You need to be scoring touchdowns. And he quit. Granted, it's probably because, he just finished settling with another one of his. So, that's not too shocking to me that his head's not in the game. He doesn't seem like it. I mean, he had 7 sacks, which to me, this offensive line didn't change. This offensive line is like the best when it comes to running the ball. When Nick Chubb was there, Nick Chubb was amazing because he knew how to run within the gaps. But Ford and Foreman, like none of these guys know how to run. Yes, they have 104 yards total, but they were playing from behind too much. They were trying to throw the ball. I mean, Deshaun Watson, 15 of 28, 125 yards and a touchdown. QBR rating of 8.5. Yeah. So that shows you that the Browns being 1-4 is deserving, and it's bittersweet for me, and I know for Texans fans not Texans fans, the Strouds, because the Browns gave up so much to get Deshaun Watson, and now they've actually created a championship team with the Strouds. All their picks have worked out really well. Everything's panned out for them. So kudos to the Strouds on that. But yeah, it was not a good game defensively or offensively for the Browns, but exciting to see that they lost again. Washington 14-25. Sorry, Jayden Daniels 14-25, 238, touchdown to pick. Not his best game. He ran the ball really well, 11 carries, 82 yards. So he's doing really well. He plays the Ravens next week, which, that's going to be a test for us because it's like playing another Lamar Jackson, just a younger version. I'm not going to do the comparison of who's better and who's worse at their age because they're on their own unique situations. But Commanders being 4-1 was not something that anyone would have pegged, and generally excited to see what happens. Austin Eckler played really well. Brian Robinson, he didn't get as many carries, but had 2 touchdowns, so really good for him. Scary Terry, 4 receptions, 112 yards, so he's killing it. Yeah, it was a good game for Washington and a terrible game for the Browns. If they keep going down this path, it's just going to make my day because I don't like the Browns. Everyone here knows I hate the Browns. And there's a reason for that because I don't like Deshaun Watson. I think he's a terrible person. And he wasn't worth his weight in gold, even when he was playing like he was on the Texans. I'm calling them the Texans because I'm not going to defame the Stroud's name with Deshaun Watson's name, if you know what I mean. So on to the next game. It's a tough game. Jaguars were 0-4, really needed a win going in. They were the only winless team left, but it was a shootout. Joe Flacco played really well, 359, 3 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence, 371, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Tank Bigsby came out to play 11 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Travis Etienne is looking a little worse for wear. The run game wasn't really going well for the Colts because Jonathan Taylor was out. Receiving for the Colts, Alec Pierce, 3 receptions, 134 yards. Brian Robinson, 122 yards. Like, it was a really good game for both teams in the passing department. It came down to the wire. I mean, 24-17 in the fourth quarter. And the Jaguars had a chance to win it with a field goal, and they were able to do that. So kudos to Jacksonville for getting their first win. Colts will bounce back once they have Jonathan Taylor back. And maybe Richardson, but I don't know. Richardson hasn't looked the same. Now on to the game of the week. The last game of the morning games. Now this one was a crazy game. I can't believe that the Bills were still in this because Josh Allen completed 9 passes and attempted 30. He only got sacked once, had 1 touchdown, 131 yards, and you only lost by 3. That's amazing. James Cook, 20 carries, 82 yards. He did really well. Passing game was just not there for the Buffalo, but they were able to hold down the fort in the second quarter on with the Texans because the Texans jumped out to a 14-point lead. Nico Collins had a huge throw at the start, but then he got injured, so that kind of derailed a lot of what the Texans wanted to do. But Diggs, in his revenge game, 6 receptions, 82 yards. He was able to show that he was still that guy. Running game wasn't really there for Houston. They really missed Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, when he comes back, is going to be very valuable to this team. Hoping Nico Collins a speedy recovery. I think it was a high ankle sprain. Tank Dell's going to have to step up here. So is Dalton Schultz going forward. But it came down to the wire, and Buffalo made a terrible call. So I'll paint you a little picture. You're at your own 5-yard line. There's about 30 seconds left on the clock. You have no timeouts. Instead of running the ball and just waiting till overtime, you decide to throw the ball 3 straight times and 3 straight incompletions to where you're punching the ball to the Texans, who have 3 timeouts, and there's about 20 seconds left on the clock. You can guess what happened after that. They punted it. They got a really good field position. They were able to get a quick pass over the middle and call a timeout. About 2 seconds left, I believe, 1 or 2 seconds left, and able to kick the field goal to win it. So, bonehead move by the coach for the Bills. Texans are 4-1. They're playing really well. You know, it's so funny that the Browns are 1-4, and the Texans are 4-1. And it's kind of like it should be opposite because you paid so much to get a great quarterback, and then turns out he's terrible. And now the Texans are doing better off without him. So nice to see that. Now on to our afternoon games. Couple upsets here. Cardinals and the 49ers. 49ers, I mean, they scored 23 points at half. It was 23-10 at half. You're thinking, okay, they're going to play well. Wrong. They got shut out. They couldn't do anything in the third and fourth quarter. Cardinals played dominant, had some ballsy calls, and they were able to kick a field goal, but 49ers had a chance, and they blew it. Brock Purdy threw his second pick. Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy didn't have the best of games when it came down to it, reliably. James Conner ran the ball really well. So did Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray had a great run to get them their first touchdown of the game. Jordan Mason, another good running game. Passing wise, they didn't have. I mean, look, they had 5 people that caught the ball. Brandon Ayuk finally comes back and shows up. 8 receptions, 147 yards. Kittle, 8 receptions, 64 yards. Jennings and Debo were not really active on the passing game. For Arizona, Michael Wilson played really well. Marvin Harrison had 2 receptions. Trey McBride's starting to come back, but it was kind of a sluggish game up until the fourth quarter. And then the Cardinals really stepped up and really wanted this win more. So for them to go 2-3 goes over well. 49ers have the Thursday night game against the Seahawks. And so both teams are looking to try to retake the title first in their division. Now, the Packers and the Rams game, it wasn't that close going in all. Green Bay just looked sluggish because Jordan Love's still getting back to it, but then they start clicking in the third quarter, and Stafford just has not looked the same without Puka, without Cooper Kupp. Josh Jacobs had a really good game. Jordan Love and Matthew Stafford were semi-decent. Both had picks. Kyren Williams had another great game for the Rams and rushing. A lot of new faces getting it. Whittington had 7 receptions, 89 yards. Tutu Atwell, 6 for 458. Parkinson, 7 for 52. Tucker Kraft for Green Bay, 4 receptions, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure no one had that one coming up there. Jaden Reed, 4 receptions, 78 yards. And then another big milestone, too, was Xavier McKinney. Got another interception. This guy has had 5 interceptions. So he's had an interception every week, at least one. I believe he just has one every game. Yeah. He has 5 interceptions. We've only been through 5 weeks. That's crazy that he's had consecutive. It's like a 5-game hitting streak, except 5-game pick streak. So that's crazy. Looks a lot closer than it was. The Rams didn't really have any sort of chance in that one. On to the next upset, which was the Giants and the Seahawks. Now, Daniel Jones finally played his first good game. Yeah, shocking, right? 23, 34, 257, 2 touchdowns. That did really well. Now, the emerging star was Tyrone Tracy Jr. Now, Devin Singletary was out, and so they started this guy, and boy, did he run a train through the Seahawks. 18 carries, 129 yards. Slayton stepped up with Neighbors being out. 8 receptions, 122 yards, and touchdown. DK Metcalf for the Seahawks wasn't really there. Jackson Smith-Njigba did really well. Tyler Lockett, Kevin Walker in the pass game did really well, but they couldn't get anything going. They would get to a point and then they would fumble it all, and there are a lot of blocked kicks this week. The Seahawks had a 101-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown, but it was no good. The Giants looked really good this game for them, and Seahawks, coming off this devastating loss, have to go play the 49ers on Thursday, so they're going to need to really work on themselves. Now, on to the Sunday night game, which was something. So, this was a terrible game for both teams. It just was. Dak had a lot of opportunities to just push the pedal to the metal a lot of these times, and then he threw 2 careless passes, fumbled the ball in the red zone. So, fumbled the ball and threw a pick in the red zone. So 2 of those could have at least been field goals to where it wouldn't have made this game close. Justin Fields, 15-27, 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then they rushed the ball semi-decently, but their offense was non-existent. Like always, they relied on their defense, and their defense can only hold up so much. Rico Dowdle, 20 carries, 87 yards. He was the bright spot for this team. CeeDee Lamb did not have the best of games, but that's because Dak was just not on. Dak was not on it, but they were able to They were able to win the game. Tolbert played a huge role, 7 receptions, 87 yards, and a touchdown. He was huge down the stretch. But again, it was a crappy game for both teams. And like I said, when the Steelers play good teams, they will lose. I have said that. Granted, the Colts weren't, but Dallas is a pretty good team. And they were beaten the entire game. Mind you, the score was, going into the fourth quarter was 10-6. Now, the Steelers defense can only do so much. I mean, Patrick Queen didn't play his best game like usual. TJ Watt has to do everything. And that's it. I mean, there was just the interceptions from Dak were just careless. It wasn't like anything crazy, nothing like that. He had time. He just rushed the throws. So going forward, the Cowboys need to play a lot better. The Steelers offense needs to wake up because you are now second in the division. We have now caught up. We gave you a shot. You blew it. Now we're back. And we'll see how well you guys can hold up with us, being the Ravens. I mean, Steelers, they didn't have Micah Parsons, Dexter Lawrence. A couple different guys were out this week, and they still held you to 17 points. And even then, you got the 17 because you were in the red zone because of Dak a lot of times. So, Steelers got to wake up. I don't know who they play next week, but we'll go over that here a little bit later. On to the Monday night game. It was a shit show for both teams. Again, Patrick Mahomes, no touchdowns. He played a lot better passing-wise, but 1 pick. So he has 6 picks through 5 weeks. I just wanted that to be very apparent because I've been seeing a lot of MVP races that show Patrick Mahomes even in the top 3. Patrick Mahomes is not even top 5 in the MVP race at all. There's Burrow, there's Lamar, there's Allen, there's Sam Darnold, and then there's CJ Stroud. I'm probably missing a couple more that I could say are better than him. Derek Carr is better than Patrick Mahomes for MVP. Just because the record says 5-0, he has not done anything. Look, yes, 331 yards. One of his best games. But he still threw a pick. He hasn't been throwing accurate. This was his best game out of the 5 weeks. Kareem Hunt, 27 carries, 102 yards. He's finally back, but Saints offense was terrible. Travis Kelce did well. Juju did well, but I just, I don't want to hear that Patrick Mahomes should even be considered for it. Because what you're going to see from the Ravens game is 2 MVPs. Is 2 MVP-like people. Despite the Bengals' record, Joe Burrow played like it for the past 2 weeks. Patrick Mahomes has only played like it for 1 week. And even that. All right. That is it for the NFL games. Now on to the team you are here for. The team that you love. The Baltimore Ravens. So, this game gave me a heart attack so many times. I did not expect us to win this game. This was a shootout, which, shocking that it was a shootout. I mean, for us to give up 38 points the way we did, our defense needs to get hit with a reality check of we need to be able to get pressure on the quarterback and we need to be able to defend Ja'Marr Chase. And what I mean by that is Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins had 4 touchdowns total. Ja'Marr Chase, 10 receptions, 193 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So averaged 19 yards a game. That's terrible. T. Higgins, 9 receptions, 83 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Brandon Stevens needs to get checked. You need to wake up because you're supposed to be the number 2 on our team. Nate Wiggins can only do so much. He's a rookie. He's going to get exposed with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase starting out once he gets a couple more games under him. The run game we were able to stop a little bit, but the pass game we did not. Joe Burrow, amazing game from him. I give Cincinnati a lot of respect. It scares me, it is a rivalry because we are two of the best teams in our division. And the records don't really apply for the Cincinnati right now, but they are a team that I was like, you cannot give them an easy win. Because if you give them a win, they're going to turn it into like 5 or 6. So we're going to see what the Bengals do from here. But Joe Burrow played an amazing game, 30 of 39, 392 yards, 5 TDs, and that one pick was the difference that really affected the game for him. Now, Lamar Jackson played another amazing game, running the ball, passing the ball, was able to keep plays alive. He had a fumble, which really cost him that, he was not able to celebrate the win after. But 348 yards, 4 touchdowns passing. Now, you expected us to run a lot, which we did, and we saw that they were shutting it down, and so we continued with the pass. So it shows that we can win with the pass. We can win with the running, too. Our defense does need to get a reality check because we're not the same defense we were last year, but we need to be. 1 sack on Lamar Jackson. So that was amazing to see that we were able to somewhat keep the pressure limited. But yeah, both defenses did not show up today, except for ours in one crucial moment. Marvin Humphreys with that interception really helped us get back in this game. But Derrick Henry, 15 carries, 92 yards and a touchdown. Lamar Jackson, 12 carries, 55 yards. So really good rushing game. Derrick Henry had a 51-yard run in overtime that was able to get us that field goal kick to win. Zay Flowers, another great game. Charlie Kolar, 3 receptions, 61 yards and a touchdown. I don't think anyone expected that. Bateman. He hasn't been here as much, but over the course of the past 3 wins, he has stepped up a lot. Mark Andrews finally gets on the board, 4 receptions, 55 yards. Good to see that from him. Likely was not really there. Aguilar. Okay. Aguilar either needs to step up or get out because we need a 3 receiver set. Zay Flowers, they're going to start seeing him as a threat. We'll see on that. I mean, if you could run a shotgun with 2 tight ends and 3 receivers, we are going to be deadly. But our passing game really showed up. Lamar Jackson had 2 fumbles. One of them he recovered and stiff-armed Sam Hubbard and was able to find Likely in the end zone, which was an amazing catch, an amazing throw. Then Lamar Jackson lost the ball in overtime that it should have cost us the game. We had it in the bag, and then he fumbled it, and then all our hopes went out the window. Really amazing game from both teams, offensively, defensively. It was not the best. We did have 3 sacks. Marvin Humphreys with a crucial interception helped out a lot. Justin Tucker hit a great field goal kick from 56 yards to tie it up, and then was able to kick the field goal for the win. Really good game. Evan McPherson, he missed the field goal kick because the holder misplaced the snap. But going into this week, we were in a tough spot, and as a Ravens fan, all our dreams kind of came true this week, which was the Steelers losing, Cleveland losing, and us beating Cincinnati to take a 1-0 division lead. And once we start playing more division games, we'll be there. But, Pittsburgh, they've had their easy games at the start. Now they're going to start getting into some harder games. So we'll see. We have faced Buffalo. We've faced Dallas, Buffalo, and Cincinnati past 3 weeks and held up. So going forward, yes, there's some things we need to fix, but I was very happy to see Bateman going alive. Our defense needs to be a little better, and everyone keeps saying that we're in the hunt for Davante Adams. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I would love for Davante Adams to come here. I feel like he'd be a great fit, but that's up to the Raiders. That's up to what happens with draft picks and stuff like that. But the Ravens had an amazing game. We were able to tie it up at the fourth quarter, 38-38. We got the ball at the start. Lamar Jackson fumbled it. And then the Cincinnati decided to run the ball 3 times and not throw the ball, which your pass game has been your vital point of the game, and your 2 deadliest receivers killed us. I would have passed the ball, gotten it to a little bit closer range, and Evan McPherson is pretty automatic. So that's why I was shocked that he missed it. I was shocked that he missed the field goal, but then I saw it was the holder, and that gave us all the chance in the world we needed. So generally, we squeaked out a win. We know what to do for next time, but this was huge momentum for us. Puts the Bengals at 1-4, which is tough to come back from. If we can continue on the pace we're going with our 3-game win streak, we can start building a bigger lead so that no one can catch us. Now, on to week 6. All right, what do we got for week 6? Well, we're going to have some fun. We got a couple good games that I think are really going to be very crucial for a lot of teams, which this Thursday night game is huge, which is the 49ers and the Seahawks. Now, if the Seahawks win, that puts the 49ers at 2-4, which would be detrimental to the team. I believe the 49ers will win this game, but don't discount the Seahawks. They have not played the best the past. I mean, they played really well against Detroit, but they did not play well against the Giants. But we'll see how it goes. They're always a sneaky team. Their defense can be spotty. Their offense can do really well. It's just doing it effectively is the whole thing. But we'll see. I would lean more towards the 49ers, but don't be shocked if I come back and see an upset here for the Seahawks. Now, Commanders and Ravens. Now, we got to be able to contain Jaden Daniels. We got to be able to stop the pass game, which we were not able to do. And that's the scary part, is we need to make sure that we are able to do that. And if you can't do that, we're going to be in a bad spot. Because they've been able to pass the ball against a lot of different teams. They were able to do it against the Browns. They were able to do it against the Bengals. Now let's see if they can do it against us. We were favored by 6.5. I don't think we're going to win by 6.5. I do think we're going to win, but it will still be a pretty close game. But we shall see. Lamar Jackson's been balling out. Derrick Henry's been balling out as well. So we'll see. I tip my cap. This is going to be another exciting game for us. Now for the Chargers and the Broncos. This is another afternoon game. So Ravens have the morning game. Broncos have the afternoon game. I think the Broncos, I'm going to go with the Broncos. The Broncos defense has looked amazing. The Chargers are 2-2, but their wins haven't been as genuine as I would like to see. I mean, they beat the Raiders and the Panthers. That's about it. This defense has played really well, was able to shut down a lot of things, and Bo Nix is starting to get a lot more comfortable. If Bo Nix is able to pass the ball quickly, he has a shot. Because you got Khalil Mack and you got Joey Bosa who are going to want to, get some sacks on him. And if they're able to run the ball effectively, I think they win this game. So I'm going to go with the Broncos on this. Now the London game. Ooh. So there's Jaguars and the Bears. That's a tough game. The Bears are 3-2. Their record shouldn't really fool you. Jaguars are 1-4. Or semi-decent. I don't know who I'd go. This is a toss-up. I guess I'd lean more towards the Bears because they have their stuff going on, but that's tough. It's very tough. Next up on our list is the Cardinals and the Packers. Now, I believe it's Green Bay, but Cardinals are that sneaky team right now. They can beat some of the best teams and then play really bad against some good teams. But for me, I would go with Green Bay. Colts and Titans. I go with the Colts. If Jonathan Taylor's back and Joe Flacco's there, yeah, I'd go Colts. Texans and Patriots. I'm going Texans. CJ Stroud and Stroud's are going to play really well. I think they're going to bounce back. Now, Tampa Bay and the Saints will be an interesting one. I think Tampa Bay is going to win this one, but it depends on Derek Carr, if he's even back. If Derek Carr is not back, then for sure the Bucks. So there's that. The Eagles coming off their bye play the Browns. I think the Eagles will take care of the Browns. I think 8.5 is a little too high because the defense will shut them down a little bit, but there's that. Steelers and Raiders. Yeah, okay. Good job, Steelers. Another freaking bad team you guys have to face. Yeah, I think the Steelers will win. Whoop-de-doo. And then we go in. That was the first afternoon game with the Denver. Now we have two more, which Cowboys and Lions. That's a tough one. I think the Lions. The Lions look a lot more fluid. They look a lot better. Dak is still all over the place. So I would definitely have to go with Detroit on that one. Now, Falcons and Panthers. I wonder who I'm going to pick here. Yeah, the Falcons. I'm shocked that they're keeping this game as the night game, in all honesty. Like, seriously? This is our night game. This is the game I have to watch? Okay. I think the Bengals, 3.5 is sad. I would say the Bengals are going to win by at least 8. Joe Burrow has been balling out. They're starting to click offensively. They just defensively, they can't. But the Giants' offense has not been very good. So I definitely think the Bengals are going to be able to score on these guys. Now, the Monday night game is going to be really good. Jets are at home. They're going to have an interim head coach at that point, or a new head coach. We'll see how the week goes, but I think it's just going to be an interim head coach. They're going to be facing a Buffalo Bills team who's lost their last two, who's going to want to get back on track with things and keep their division hopes alive of securing the division. I'd go with the Bills just because I believe that Josh Allen had a bad game, but he's going to snap out of it. And then we got our bye teams being the Chiefs, the Rams, Dolphins, and the Vikings. So the 5-0 teams are on their byes. Dolphins really need to recuperate because they have played terrible. So do the Rams. I think the Rams will be happy with that, hoping to get Puka or Cooper back to at least have some momentum on offense. But all right, well, that is it for week 5 and going into week 6 previews. As the clock winds down on another riveting episode, I want to thank you guys all for listening. We'll have the episodes out every Wednesday at 12. I'll make sure to post something on my Instagram page for the episode being up. Remember, my podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Please make sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you prefer. Please feel free to comment and ask a question. There's no team that I don't know that I would want to talk about besides the Browns. If you're a Browns fan and you do that, that's your own fault. Also, again, all the music and sound is provided by my brother-in-law, Justin. So, Justin, thank you for that. Well, Ravens Nation, thanks for joining me on this episode. Until next time, stay fierce, stay loyal, and keep rooting for that purple and black. I will see you next time on The Ravens Call.